Good evening, folks. Looks like I got no sound once again. No sound. Let's see. Is there sound? There is sound, right? I'm hoping you're hearing me. Let me know in the chat. Voice is good. Thank you. Sorry, yeah, it's been a little rusty, but anyway, welcome back to ShredMentor Live. I'm your host, Jason Aaron Wood, and tonight I actually have, well, with mixed feelings, I have a little bit of breaking news. If you saw the email earlier, or the post on Facebook earlier, tonight is actually going to be the last episode of ShredMentor Live, at least for a while. I'm going to need to be taking a break from this because I need to sort of get clear some headspace, basically, for some of the other things that I'm going to be working on. I've been doing a lot behind the scenes, starting to really kind of take the YouTube channel seriously, but that doesn't mean that the ShredMentor Live is going away forever. I'm probably going to take a little bit of a break before I start doing it on any regular basis, but it will no longer be a weekly show. So it's probably going to, well, right now I'm looking at probably doing it about once a month. And let's see the chat too. Here we go. How you doing, Metal Rules? Hey Matthew. Hey Mike. Good to see you guys. And you know what? I think I need to enlarge this because I can't see everything buffering. Hopefully it's not still buffering, Mike. Anyway, so there we go. I can see you all on screen now. So yeah, I have a lot of really cool things that I'm working on. I've already kind of begun just putting up some other videos. I've started with etudes that I actually already had footage of, but I'm doing it in I'm doing it in a way that allows me to help people with a higher level of impact. I guess I kind of realized about a month ago that just how much YouTube is really the perfect place for me to reach as many people and help as many people to play the way that they want to as I possibly can reach. Unlike Facebook, who, I've poured the last 14 and a half years into that site, and really their whole mission seems to be to hide it from everybody. So screw Facebook and everything they own, frankly. I think it's, it's a place to connect with people if you can get them to see what you're actually doing. But I'm no longer going to really be paying attention to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, most of the other platforms, because there's only one of them that really has sort of the same mission I do, which is to get as many people to see videos as possible. In my case, my videos. So anyway, it is a little disappointing to me to have to say this because I love having you guys come out. So those of you, especially in the chat right now, those of you who have been watching the show, not in the chat, this is what I did this for in the first place. It means the world to me that you guys came out and did this, and it's not going away. We are going to be coming back to doing this probably about once a month. So if you're on your computer, or just later on, try to remember, go over to the ShredMentor YouTube channel. Go to the community tab. There is a poll up there, and since this is going to be something that, again, to me, the ShredMentor Live shows are already something special. But since they're going to be a little bit less frequent, to me that just makes them that much more special. And I want them to be something that gives you what you want to get out of it, that helps you pass whatever hurdle you're dealing with in your playing. So there's a little poll. Just starting with that, help me decide maybe when you want to see ShredMentor Live, what kind of a schedule. 3 options, really. And so once a month, kind of on the same particular day. Once a month, generally-ish. Once a month-ish at random. Or just random. Whenever there's just, based on when a really good topic comes up, or if we're having an occasional Q&A and hang out musically. Anyway, yeah, just needed to sort of put that out there. I'm sorry, it probably seemed a little bit abrupt. It's no longer going to be a weekly show. I use the air quotes because those of you who've been following the show notice probably that I've been canceling a lot of them lately. It's sort of the same thing. I've just been sort of trying to clear some headspace to focus on other things, but the amount of preparation that goes into planning one of these episodes, as off the cuff as it probably seems, is it just takes up too much of my headspace, and I have a very hard time separating that out. So each little project for a little while until I kind of get into the mental groove of what the new ShredMentor content is going to be on this channel. I'm going to just take a little break altogether, and I think just getting together once a month after that. We might even just start right away in September at some point. Probably not early September, probably late September we'll meet again. So anyway, ShredMentor Live, not going away, just taking a little hiatus for a little while, and probably coming back as a monthly event. And in its place, though, a lot of really high-impact ShredMentor content. This has been, a really great experience doing this show. And hey, what's going on, man? Good to see you, Juan. Horns up to you as well. So yeah, I mean, what's going to take its place, though, is sort of, in a way, this learning experience of doing the ShredMentor Live thing has actually made it so that I can give you the best videos possible, because I learned a lot about how to use the different tools and stuff like that. And I've been studying nonstop like a crazy person, just the method of delivery, okay? I care a lot about how I deliver certain things, and doing it this way, though, the way I'm studying to do it, and it's already paid off a lot. It basically, YouTube rewards me by making a better video for you, because more people want to see it. This is why I like YouTube. They're not backwards. Maybe they have some things about backwards, and their comment section sometimes, of course, is still particularly brutal. I'm willing to live with that. Not my problem if some people have a chip on their shoulder out there, like one particular person a couple days ago who, whatever. Most of the people seem to enjoy it, and of course, if it's not for you, that's fine too, because I can't address everybody's needs, but I intend to address very specific needs that solve some of the biggest problems that people face, especially on their way up to becoming like a really high caliber player. Because every single time I surpassed some level where I had been hitting a roadblock, every time I figured it out, I always look back, yeah, partially with satisfaction, but always with a little bit of like, that didn't need to be that hard. So that's what I want to help everybody else. Honestly, most of my adult life has sort of been devoted to that feeling and sort of passing that on so that I can help other people bypass having to have that feeling. Because it's satisfying to finally get where you want to, but it's a little bit annoying when you find that it was actually so much easier to do in the first place. You just didn't know how to do it, and nobody was willing to tell you. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the guy I wish I had around in 2003-ish. So 20 years later, here we go. So that's what ShredMentor has always been meant to be anyway. It's right in the name. It should be no, it's not anything other than exactly what it's always been called, ShredMentor. That's what I want to help you do. And frankly, I mean, yeah, you're going to have to work hard, but if you don't work smart, all the hard work in the world is not going to do you any favors. It's not going to matter. Okay, so I'm going to help you get out of ruts, but I'm also going to help to hopefully speed along your journey. And don't worry, you're supposed to enjoy the journey, but let's face it, none of us knows when we're going to die. Sorry to be a little morbid here, but you don't know when you're going to die. So do you want to spend the next decade just climbing, or do you just want to like get there so you can enjoy being there? I mean, it's up to you. It's your call. It really is a question, but I know for me, I would much rather just be there already. And I spent 30 years getting to it, 20 to the point just where I felt like I was comfortable enough putting out albums on my own. So that shouldn't have had to happen, really. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing for the first 20 years. So anyway, and then honestly, just speaking as someone who, however good I've gotten over the years, I started in the same place everybody starts, and guitar playing is fun, but you know what? I will say one thing though. Playing the guitar like really well is more fun. Definitely. There should be, in case you're not sure, yes, definitely more fun. So I want to get you there so you can at least get a taste of that, and as soon as possible so you can continue to get a taste of that. Anyway, that's kind of it for the breaking news here. Let's dive into the topic. Thank you, Juan. I appreciate that. Still definitely doing one-on-one coaching, all the stuff with, all the stuff with the Total Artist Development System still going. That's pretty much the primary thing, because a lot of what we're talking about tonight, and actually the topic tonight, is in fact going to be based around a more holistic kind of 3-pillar system. I want to teach you how to play really well, but that's only going to be worth so much if you're just reciting patterns that you learn. So I want to also get you fluent in the language of music, which means when you're speaking, have you ever said the same thing essentially to a bunch of people? Not like in a way where you have to memorize your lines, but you have to explain the same thing over and over and over again. You're not really doing it with the exact same words. You're improvising with a language. I can say this same thing again. I won't waste your time with it, but I could say exactly what I just said again in different words. That's what I mean. By taking those patterns and being able to use them in a musical way and not have to play something exactly the same way, you can still make it work in a certain context and convey this more or less the same concept and the feeling. That's improvising. So being able to use your language of music and go beyond just reciting, not the color by number that we start with, but actually understand what you're doing, then you're going to have that. And that's also going to save you a lot, because that's their second pillar, is your improvisation skills, your ability to sort of compose on the spot. It's also a good litmus test of how good you are, period. It might be a little unfair feeling, but frankly, here, boom, here's a guitar. Show me what you can do. What if you were put in that situation? How well would you fare? Right? So I find that how well you can improv is actually a really nice standard to hold yourself to, because it forces you to keep using and applying the things you learn, implement them into the things you reach for, and try different things with them, experiment with them, not just get stuck on, I can play the solo from this song. Like, well, okay, can you write a solo like that? We're going to be talking about that tonight, so that's why hence my example. But then you have another, even further pillar. Can you use all that stuff, everything you've learned, knowledge-wise, all of the skills that you've amassed or whatever, developed, and write a song someone would want to listen to with a solo that makes people go, holy shit. Songwriting and recording, and it goes beyond that. So to me, it's just, I feel it's a disservice to only teach you how to play. And it's always been, in my mind, a little bit of a disservice, which is why I've had a metal and rock songwriting program for the last 9 years, and why I've always been kind of teaching how to compose solos and how to improvise and stuff. It's not just about, I don't want to just make you a technique monster with no other skills. That is not going to go well for you. Okay, so this is about the complete package. So yes, totally, but it's also going to be based on you. Okay, so in the Total Artist Development System, we do have a weekly coaching call, almost weekly. Sorry, actually this week is week 5, so I'm not actually teaching any lessons this week. About 4 times a year this happens. There's a week 5 in the month where my lesson days are on, there's a 5th week of it. I just have a week off that week, and so do you. But you can always reach out if you have questions, of course, too. But once a week, otherwise, the first 4 weeks of the month, we meet every Thursday at 8 p.m. on a special Zoom call. And you also have one-on-one private coaching with me, depending on, or X number of times per month, depending on your membership level. So that still is intact. It's the long answer to your question, but I do want to talk about it because that is part of what we're doing tonight. So let's get that out of here and bring that back in. And wow, what the heck? Ever since I switched over to just YouTube, stuff's disappearing. Okay. Hi to anybody I missed there. Looks like it's the same folks. Thank you. Good. All right, good. Don't want to miss anybody. All right, so yes, gear talk. Let's talk a little bit about the gear you're going to need in order to do what we're talking about tonight. Okay, obviously your guitar. That's a given, right? Guitar or cable, right? But we're going to be recording, okay? I'm not going to be recording tonight, but you're going to be recording because, well, you'll see when we get to the main topic here. But you're going to need at least a half-decent computer, not something from 10 years ago. You will not be running much if you're running an old computer from 10 years ago. So something, frankly, the most powerful, fairly recent computer you can get. Recent so that its performance hasn't just kind of gone downhill over the years. They just get bogged down after a while and get slower and slower. No matter how good your computer started, it's going to be a piece of crap one day. Okay? It's also not just relative to the current technology. It just gets bogged down and it stops running as efficiently. Same thing with my phone, which I got in 2018. Apparently the maximum battery is about 80% of what it used to be. So it's just, these things degrade. So anyway, best computer you can possibly afford. You are also going to need software and hardware. You need a recording interface. It doesn't have to be super expensive. I have 2 of them. I have one of them that's my guitar is plugged into right now for the purposes of this, and ta-da, you can hear me. I'm using a plugin. So you're going to need some plugins, but primarily you're going to need a recording interface. You're going to need a recording software called a digital audio workstation, or DAW. That is something you're absolutely going to need. It needs to be yours, not someone else's. It needs to be you who has it available to you at all times, so you can do it in your free time and don't have to schedule it with someone else for you to develop on your own time. Then you also are going to need, well, want at least some plugins, because right now I'm playing through a plugin. Let's see. Let's go over to the control panel. See that right down there? Right down here. That is a plugin. That's the Neural DSP Archetype Gojira, which is my current favorite amp modeling plugin. And sounds fine to me, you know. I love the way this one works. I have quite a few. They don't have to cost as much as this, so I know this is probably like, oh crap, this is probably adding up. It is, right? It doesn't have to though. In fact, I'm going to save you some time, and I'm not going to talk too much more about gear here. But anyway, let's go back to the other screen. I can see this. We can see the chat a little better here. I want you to write this down or type it in a separate tab or something like that. But ShredMentorOnline.com, not ShredMentor.com. That's a different site of mine. ShredMentorOnline.com/recording. It's free. It's a tool that I put together a few years ago, and I keep adding to it. But it's basically, I want to get you ready to record now, and I want to do it with as few barriers to entry as I possibly can. So all the stuff I'm listening to is right there. Okay, I personally like a PreSonus audio box. I have 2 of them, just in case, you know. So I have one for each of my 2 computers, and outside of that, you know, I would just suggest using Reaper. It's not what I use because I'm already used to Cubase, but Reaper is free for 60 days, and if you're not ready to pay $60 after 60 days, you don't have to. It's not even handicapped. You just have a slightly annoying 10-second nag screen counting down from a very slow 5 count. And then you can go ahead and continue until you're ready to pay $60. So I like that model. I recommend it to everybody. And there's a lot of features in there that, even though I like Cubase and I'm probably a lifetime Cubase user, there's a lot of things that I would probably just use Reaper for if I wasn't already kind of just fairly invested in a whole bunch of different sessions in Cubase. So it's great software. And don't let the price fool you. It's actually, it's totally the one I would go with if I wasn't already using Cubase. Anyway, then you're going to get to the whole section about plugins. So just write that down one more time. ShredMentorOnline.com/recording. That's it. Free tool for you. I want you to have these things. Don't think about this as something, oh, well, I'll get to that later when I'm already a guitar god. No, you won't, because you know what you're going to be? You're going to be a guitar god who doesn't know jack shit about how to record. You're going to be a complete, utter beginner. Don't wait that long. That's a terrible idea. Okay? Trust me, you need to know all of these skills. You need to have them all. They're all interconnected. Your ability to not just be lost at sea, needing somebody to come rescue you all the time, depends on you developing all the skills you need the whole time. Don't bake this section of the cake and then come back later and bake the other section. That's not how this is going to work. You're going to regret it. So play badly in the beginning, record badly, mix badly in the beginning. Just do it all gradually better and better. Okay? Because your ability to write songs doesn't just magically appear later as you get to be a better player either. That's a completely other different separate skill that needs just as much practice as playing. Okay, so just putting it all in perspective. Again, this is why I have the Total Artist Development System. This is why I developed this, because it's all necessary. It's the complete package. Okay, and again, whether you do it with me in this coaching program or just do it on your own, just make sure that the whole holistic thing is in your view. Make it all part of the goal. Don't be sequential about them. Do all of them. Be sequential, obviously, if you have to, budget things and get things over time, fine. But get yourself a good computer, get yourself a good recording interface, and go download Reaper for free now. I'm not affiliated. I just want you to have the tools you need. Okay. Anyway, so back to you folks. Okay, so that's kind of it for gear, though. Write that down. ShredMentorOnline.com/recording. Keep it in another tab. Just keep it open. But stick with me now, because we're going to go to another section, and that is a little bit of practicing for results. What we're going to be talking about tonight is going to, well, this is one kind of practice. Like I said, you need to practice all these things, but what you're going to be doing from one day to the next, basically what I just did, if this has opened your eyes to a new way of thinking about how much has really got to be on your plate, you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now, and that's natural, okay? And in fact, you're going to have to get a little bit strategic about how you approach things if you're going to accomplish all this stuff in your lifetime, okay? So there's really, I wrote down in my notes here, I wrote down one of my ShredMentor strategies, and to bring that back, the book, still coming out, just totally spread thin, but it'll come out. But it's one of the 45 strategies in this book. Anyway, I wrote down one of the strategies, but I'm going to give you two of them because they're both pretty important, okay? This one, the main one that I wrote down, is called the Skill Day strategy, and that is essentially, don't practice the same set of skills every single day. Devote one or two or a handful of days out of the week to one set of skills, and then devote other days to other set of skills. This is not the way to practice. This is a very good way of managing your time, budgeting your time so that you have enough time to cover in a quality way, spend quality time on each of the specific skill sets. Different kinds of skills require a different amount of time, and sitting down and learning your software, recording, re-recording, because you're going to have to do a few takes, especially in the beginning. The better you get at improv, the fewer takes you're going to need, though. So that's another big reason why you want to get good at improv, because you can just bam, bam, bam. Yep, that's a good one. Record it again on guitar, too. Bam, cool, next section, which is what I've been doing with all of my solo albums since 2011. So Reflections, Glass Idols, all of my other ones. JasonAaronwood.bandcamp.com if you want to see what that is. So you write that down, but stay with me. Don't go there now. Okay, so that is the first of them. Using the Skill Day strategy allows you to devote certain days of the week and make, to different skill sets, and make sure that you actually get everything, cover all the ground you need to, because chances are you're probably still not quite where you want to be with your guitar playing. I'm happy with mine, but I'm never going to be done. There's always new things I want to do too. So I don't even believe in mastery. Frankly, I just don't. I don't believe in mastery of anything. If you think you've mastered something, you got too comfortable too soon, because there's something else you can still do with that. There's still some improvement, and it's okay to get comfortable. Sit back, enjoy what you've worked for. You've earned it. Keep growing though. Don't assume yourself to be a master, even if you just get comfortable and don't want to move. There's still always plenty more. It's just like walking toward the horizon. The closer you get that way to that spot you were looking at on the horizon, the more you realize it just goes just as further out that way. So there's always more, okay? Always more to learn, but you can get pretty damn good and be happy with it, So enjoy it, but, keep going. But anyway, yeah, there's just not enough time in the day if you're going to play. I mean, maybe, quit your job, and if you got a trust fund or something, cool. If you can make it work, if you're one of the lucky few that doesn't need to, spend a massive chunk of your time, the majority of your time not having the freedom to work on this stuff, good, use it. Take advantage of it. Otherwise, you are going to probably have to do a little bit of juggling, and you're probably even going to have to make some assessments, like, does this really need to be an obligation that I continue to take on? Like, I mean, I'm talking to you on a show that I'm reluctantly about to let go of for a little while, but I can't, I have to juggle my time too, even when it's guitar related. I've set up my life so that everything I do is guitar related, and I still have to do this, and I still do the Skill Day strategy myself. Some days I work on recording and songwriting. Some days I work on just analyzing the shit out of songs, and like the best well-written songs that I can find. It doesn't matter whether they're metal or not. I just want to look at the best examples, best specimens of songwriting I possibly can. And some days I just want to shred my ass off. Some days I just want to play, David Gilmour, and be just super expressive and just be like Mr. Phrasing all the way. And I just let the mood take me, because I've been studying all of these and practicing all of them for so long. I'm fairly happy with where I am with all of them, which means that if I sit down to write a song, if I had a deadline and needed to finish it tomorrow, it's hard, but I've done it already a few times. So, again, writing a song in a day, a complete from-scratch song, mastered and released tomorrow. Try that one day. tried that a bunch of times. I didn't nail it my first time I tried it. But these are all like just, I think, like what I think of as like sort of real life musical skills. Can you produce the goods now? Right? Right now. So that's, I think it's a great kind of thing. Even if you don't, it's like riding a bike. If you fail, don't just give up forever. Get up, get back on it, try again. Keep doing it. You'll get there. So anyway, so that's the first one. It's the skill day strategy. The other strategy, which I did not write down, but it's also pretty vital to this, especially on technique day, is to segment your time. Okay? It's the structured time strategy. Do not spend a whole hour working on your alternate picking. You're not going to get that much better at it today. You're going to improve. But Christ, don't do that. Don't spend the entire session on one skill. You've squandered that time. You're only going to get so much better at it today, so you might as well at least segment up, like, say, an hour, and devote each of the 10-minute segments, say, to 6 different things instead of just one. Because, again, you're only going to get so much better at them. You might as well spend a good chunk of absolute devoted quality time to each skill, and you've covered 6 times as much territory in a single hour as you probably cover every day. And this way you're also not wandering from, one random thing to another, which most people, let's face it, they do. So don't feel bad if you do, just stop doing it, because there's a better way. Before you start practicing, devote about 5 to 10 minutes to writing down what are your greatest weaknesses that you want to be strengths. Make a damn bullet list, visible. Stop it from bouncing around in your head. Put it on a piece of paper right in front of your face so you can keep looking at it. Keep just obsessing, but get it external so you can see it. Go in with a game plan. Do not wander aimlessly from one random-ass thing to some other random-ass unconnected thing, okay? Anyway, those are your strategies for the week, and I guess for a little while, because, last weekly show, we're probably not going to meet for at least another month. But, now, the fun part. Essentially, this show is... Oh, I didn't do it. I don't have the... Anyway, it's the art of soloing. Here we go. Let's dig in. Okay, sorry. Half hour in, but we're really getting to the main topic here. There's a lot of preparation for this kind of thing. So, rapid solo writing. Okay, let me check this chat here real quick. I'm going to say this statement with bold facts. You have been a blessing to so many guitarists. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that, Mike. You know what? This thing keeps going. I'm going to just make it bigger and bigger and bigger. The icon of teaching on YouTube, period. I appreciate that very much. I hope to reach more people. And you know what? I'll take this moment to thank you, Mike. And those of you who feel similarly or who have been helped at all by the different stuff that we've covered, probably on this show, but any of the ShredMentor materials or lessons or anything, I very rarely do this, but I'm going to ask you a favor. Share my channel. Tell people about me. If you know other guitar players, tell them to come to me. Help me grow this channel and reach more people, because that's sort of been my mission throughout my entire adult life. Like I said, I want to help as many people overcome these kind of unnecessary hurdles, kind of break the spell of all this bullshit that everyone says you're supposed to do. It's always a game of telephone, missing at least half of the truth. I just want to try to free some people from the shackles of bullshit that we're all sort of conditioned to just accept as universal truths. And maybe learn to stop just listening to everyone, because everyone isn't a great guitar player and doesn't know yet whether what they're talking about even works, at least not firsthand. Anyway, oh yeah, Scott, hey, sorry, man. And I also like to, I'm sorry, Juan, I outed you because your name doesn't say that. But yeah, Scott, good to see you, man. Thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate that as well. And it's been awesome working with you so far, too. And I'm going to be using the site for the stuff we do tonight. So let us dig in, okay, for real. The list, okay? There are 9 specific things I'm going to suggest that you do to speed up your ability to write a solo, even a complex one, fairly quickly, okay? And this is general stuff I do. I might omit some of them as I do it, but these are things that I myself do, okay? So the very first one is record as you go, okay? Because there's something funny happens when you take your ideas, something happens to your ideas when you record them, and it's suddenly exists. Your idea suddenly exists because you recorded it. Because if it's just a vague idea in your mind, or even just something that only you in the whole world have ever heard, and only by playing your guitar to yourself in your bedroom or somewhere, or maybe just you and another person in the room. That, in a sense, that idea doesn't exist yet. So use recording as the method of writing. It's going to save you a lot of time because you can listen back to what you've got. And there's other stuff that allows you to do that too, which we're going to get to a little bit later in this list. All right, very simple, but seriously, songs don't exist until they're recorded. Name me a song, and I will point you to a recording of that song, because any song you know is actually the recording. Because I don't think that every band you've ever heard of comes around and personally performs every song you know by them. You're going on the recording that we all know. That's what a song really is now. It's a recording. So until it is recorded, it does not exist. So that's why I said earlier, you need a recording interface, you need a DAW, and you need probably a suite of at least as many free plugins as possible. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I'll give you that URL again one more time, because these are free plugins that I've gathered. As many of them as I could possibly find that are free, high quality, very working, and I personally use them. That is what that is. It's shredmentoronline.com/recording. I've gathered a list of a lot of different, basically, free plugins that do pretty much everything, the whole suite of just basic essential plugins. There's some specialty stuff out there, and you're probably going to want to pay for that, but you're going to need compressors, you're going to need reverbs, you're going to need delay, you're going to need EQ, stuff like that, multi-band compressor, you're going to need a guitar amp modeler. If you have a great amp and a mic and all that stuff, you want to do it that way, that's fine. You have the space and neighbors who won't kill you for it, fine. I live in a townhouse, so that's not happening. Yes, this recording studio behind me is a townhouse. No, it's not. Anyway, but yeah, I live in a townhouse. I can't do that. So I just record in the box. Everything is a plugin. It's all done in the computer, and it's a fine way to work, I have to say. Which is why you need a powerful computer, though. So anyway, record as you go. That's number one. Number two, I really recommend this, and I don't do it every time, and I tend to regret it a lot of the time when I don't do it, so I'll give you this. Number two is determine how long the solo will be ahead of time. It will save you so much of a headache, and I'm going to demonstrate this one. Real quick, let me make sure that I actually have the right thing open here. Yeah, I don't. So let me open up my backing tracks here and just hope that everything goes great. Shrink that down. We're going to go over to guitar practice tools. Oh, I'm on top of it today, huh? Okay, whatever. Let's see here. I am going to sort of upsize this just a touch. Whoa, that's huge, isn't it? All right, so there's a thing I need to do. Sorry, folks. There's always something I forget. All right, I need to open Guitar Practice Tools main interface before it'll show anything. There it is. And I'm in admin mode, so some of the weird stuff, don't pay any attention to that. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. Okay, so this here, there's our, let's see, what's the, yeah, 80%. That's a good one for this. Okay, so what we're looking at here is my backing tracks page, okay? And I have them, all these different chord progressions, okay? And I'm going to use them as the thing. I think I'm going to be, I'm just going to use this simple A minor blues kind of thing. It's, sounds like my tuning went out. All right, yeah, that was it. Pesky D string. Okay, so that's the riff I'm going to be playing over. But what I say as far as like determining how long the solo would be. Think of it like how many repetitions. Listen to your part. If you already have a part there that you're going to fill it in, like I'm going to put it over the verse riff. Let's say this is the verse riff. Maybe it's the intro of the song too, right? So let's listen. That could have been the end. That could be one whole solo, but I feel like 2 times it's maxing it out, but I feel it's a nice size solo too. Nice length. Now, right? That is, I feel like 2 times into that is kind of a nice amount. I feel it would be good for like an intro type solo. It could be good for right after the second chorus and the bridge or something like that. It could be a good length solo. And it gives you time to sort of structure out what you're doing. All right, so that's what I'm saying. To kind of determine the length in terms of 2 times through this riff, or 1 time through this riff, or maybe the last time through that riff and 1 time through the beginning of the next riff, like a 2-part solo where it kind of feels like it, you know, just to determine in terms of how the length of sections and the number of repetitions. Just get an idea by listening to it. Put yourself in the listener seat for a second. This is the listener seat strategy. In fact, it's a multi-part thing, but just stop being a musician for a second and just listen. Like, yeah, that feels like it should be like, yeah, probably like right there. That feels like that would have been a satisfying length solo. Less is more sometimes with that kind of thing too. Giving them not a very long solo, but a really good one in a short amount of time makes people want to hear it again. So they're just going to play the whole song again. So that's another nifty thing. You know, if you're not sure, it's much better to do too short a solo than too long a solo that drags on and on and on. And people are just like, I got it already, bro. All right, so keep that in mind too. Anyway, back here. So yeah, okay, so that's number 2. Just determine ahead of time how long that's going to be, right? This really helps tremendously with your planning, and it sort of now becomes like a game of quantity. You're literally filling time now. Oh, that's the 20-minute section. I was going to do a 20-minute Q&A, but like, just ask me questions as you think of it, because there's so much more to this list to go, because I only hit 2 out of the 9 things, and we're at 8:40. I might go a little over tonight because it's the last one for a while, but I do want to try to finish things up at about 9 p.m. Eastern here. So let's keep on going. So yeah, number 3, build your solo with sort of rhythmic length based phrases. Okay, this is what I'm going to play. There will be playing in tonight's show. In fact, yeah, let's go back to the guitar practice tools interface. Oh, that thing's gone again. Sorry. This damn YouTube chat's a pain in my ass. What? Yeah, that. There we are. Oh, look at that. Yeah, I can actually see you guys now. Alright, this must be the bottom. There we go, I think. It just keeps going. Alright, there. That's the bottom, where it says that. Okay, sorry. Alright, so, I'm going to show you what I mean here, okay? As far as building your solo with rhythmic length based phrases. In fact, I don't even necessarily need this, okay? Let's just say I have something in 4/4, right? And no, I'll use the track, but I'm going to plan before, okay? Because I know it's 4/4. What I just played, that track, that's in 4/4. If the person who complained about my delay a couple weeks ago is watching, yes, I'm still going to be using delay because I like it and it's more inspiring to me. Not using it works for some people, and in certain situations I should definitely turn it off, but this is not going to be one of them. So I'm going to use this because it forces me to think of a key and think about a key change, or a chord change, sorry. A minor to F major. Essentially, that's the triad change that's going on there, okay? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There, 8, right? I'm going to think in rhythmic numbers, phrases, not individual notes. So, I like to have a little bit of rhythmic variation in there too, okay? So, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4 and then let's see. That's 8 there. So yeah, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, I think that's probably it, right? So even just that section, I kind of might have just composed the entire beginning section of the A minor chord the first time through that riff. I'm doing 2 times through the whole riff. I think I'm either halfway through the A minor chord or I'm all the way through the first of the 2 A minor chords. So, oh. No. This is where I forget. This is where my 44-year-old brain starts to go. So. No. No. See, I'm not liking that. So. I might not. I think that's a little bit better. I want to land on the A. Because what I'm doing is I'm putting punctuation on my phrase, but I'm also choosing the punctuation that I know is also in the other chord. All right. So let's try this. Let's see. I'm hoping that I can play it at the speed because I'm just writing right now. Don't confuse what we're talking about tonight with being able to actually play it at full speed perfectly right out of the gate. Not the same thing. You don't even know how this damn solo goes yet. So we'll talk about a couple things to save you from that too. But let's see. I'm going to just click something else real quick just to have something else play. That? Okay, anyway. So, ooh, lost an earphone, but you know what? Who cares? And I lost my screen controller there too, so let's reconnect real quick. Sorry. All right. All right. Yeah, let's try. Whoops. There we go. Nope, I was halfway through. All right, so I definitely am gonna have to work this one up to speed. Anyway, I'm writing it. I'm not worried about playing it at full speed, but. So here's what's fun is I can actually milk this a little bit longer. So. So anyway, just breaking down what I'm doing here. I'm using a hexachord, just ascending and descending, just nice 3-note per string, friendly to the hand kind of thing. Grabbing the next note, I like this note because it's the 5th of the chord that I'm in. I kind of try to target main chord tones, root, 3rd, and 5th as I go. So switched into a sweep arpeggio shape, slowed it down to 8th notes. Now I'm doing a different sweep arpeggio. I'm starting on the pinky, but I'm sliding up to the pinky note of a different shape. It's still an A minor, but it's a different inversion. So this was the second inversion, the 5th. With an extra 2nd thrown in there. And now root, 3rd, 5th, root, 3rd, 5th, root, 5th. And then slide to the 3rd. Now I'm going to the 3rd. It's still A minor arpeggio-ish, but I'm now using... So that's another 8. I'm using a sequence of 4 now. Now I'm starting to noodle and lose my place here, but anyway. So anyway, that's a 1, 8, 8, 8, 8, and I think that will get me there. I'm going to start it over again real quick. That actually helped. Playing along with a little bit of improvising helped me to fill in the rest of the time, because it's the same phrase in 3 octaves. So that's what's nice about that whole pattern there. But I kind of did. It's going to an F chord, so I'm using this sort of Lydian type of way of implying the arpeggio. So real quick, you'll still be able to hear this. So I'm going to actually switch back here so I can actually see the chat. Nothing's changed in the chat, so we're good. Anyway, just making sure. Yeah, we're good. All right. So I'll just keep it like this. You'll be able to hear the track, I think. Let me know in the chat if you cannot. Let's give that a shot there. Let's go up. Start again. So, I'm realizing the guitar's probably pretty quiet, isn't it? If you guys are having a hard time hearing, yeah, 10-minute warning for 10 o'clock. For 9 o'clock here, but you know what? That's okay. Let's just let it snooze there. I'm gonna turn the guitar up just a little bit because this track is a little louder. I actually can't hear it too well. All right. Something like that. So I'm getting ahead of myself there, but I have to go past. I'm kind of targeting the C here, so I'd like to go past it and then come back to it like that. So let's see how that works. Kind of gets me sort of there. I'm probably not going to do all that quite the same. I probably would have probably use something a little bit more controlled, even though it's like sextuplets over sixteenths. Probably that, right? So that's a section, okay? And I've just dealt with, essentially, I'm treating the chord progression like 4 chords now, okay? So the A minor, the first chord, that's A minor, took care of that section, done. And so when you record, going back to the first one, if you record as you go, you can see, oh good, I'm 25% done. So there is, as much as quality over quantity is definitely, should be your mantra, don't forget, it doesn't mean that quantity goes out the window. There's absolutely a game of quantity going on, and that is your rhythm. So anyway, that is what I mean by building your solo with rhythmic length-based phrases, okay? You're filling the time signature space with chunks at a time, okay? Whole phrases that take up however many beats or subbeats, not one note at a time, okay? I mean, if you're trying to go for like a really, expressive phrasing-based type of solo, fine, sure, do that. But sequences based on scales, arpeggios, or both, which is what all that was just now. So I'm never going to remember that again, probably never going to play it again, but that was anyway, that was just how I would approach it. And just to give you kind of an example of what I mean by rhythmic length-based phrases, things that were 8 beats at a time, things that added up to 8. And because I'm in 4/4, so I wanted to I wanted to fill some 16th notes, a quarter note or 2 at a time. In fact, I was kind of doing like a half note's worth of 16th notes in chunks. So it's a bunch of individual phrases, and I mostly just have to worry about how to connect them. I'm not thinking one note at a time. That's just not going to be very efficient. So I need to at least be thinking about the relationships between the notes. So anyway, that's number 3. Number 4 is also don't forget groove. Don't forget to syncopate. And while you're at it, phrasing. So I'm going to use the same track for probably everything here, but I'm just going to give you some other examples here. I just kind of did, I just felt like shreddy type stuff, but I'll do like, I'm going to take what I did and slow it down from 16ths to 8ths, but I'm also going to change the melody a little bit in order to put emphasis in less expected beats. This is one of the most important things you can do to make your idea itself sound more interesting. Need leave out. Are you hearing it now, Mike? I don't know how long ago you did that that comment, but I can definitely boost it a little bit more because even now I feel it's a little bit tough here. Anyway, yeah, we'll do that a little bit. Let's see. Let's go back to the chord progressions here. Real quick, that one. Rhythmic variation in a nutshell. All right, so instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, you know, after a little while, the main beat's already accounted for. You don't need to play on every main beat either. Purposely bring out some of those less main beats with what you're playing if there's already a band there, which is, again, if you're recording as you go, that's why. You know, that's what that is. You have a band there now, or something that serves as or functions as the band is there. Okay, so groove, right? And the other thing, built right into the same one, I just sort of lumped them together, is phrasing. How you like at least throw vibrato on something. Trying different kinds of rhythmic ideas, bursts of speed, landing on, you know, basically here's a fun, very, very easy way to throw a little bit of syncopation into what you're doing. Just basically, instead of like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, you know, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? End your phrase on the and of 4 instead of on the 1 of the next measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I just slid back into the next note. I skipped out a note basically. So like, something anybody can do. It's way easier than you might think, but it's just you're trying to bring out the upbeats, the and on in between the main beats. There's already a drummer playing on the main beats, so we don't need to hear the guitar on every one of them. Mostly that was probably Aeolian. All right, my way of looking at modes is that during the A minor chord, it was Aeolian, and during the F major chord, it was Lydian, because it was all the A minor scale, but the focal point changed to the root of one chord and then to the other. So A minor is Aeolian, Aeolian, but F Lydian is basically A minor from F's perspective. So as soon as F is there in the root, the whole scale becomes F Lydian. It's still A minor. It's still the A, B, C, D, E, F, G that we were playing. So yeah, modes are more about the relationship to the chord, and so the context. Modes are about context. Now, of course, if you pick up any kind of scales or modes book, they're going to show you a bunch of scale shapes, because conveying what I just said in a book, good luck. It's much more attractive on a bookshelf in a store to purchase something when it looks like this massive encyclopedia that's dense with loads and loads of information, even if it's the same damn information repeated chromatically everywhere just to fluff up the pages. So that's basically what everybody thinks of as modes, and it's not like that's not modes, but that's not all there is to modes, and the other half gets left out because the guitar education industry is primarily run by publishing companies. So they got books to sell. That's the only version of it you really ever hear. So I hope that makes sense. I do have a really old video that kind of talks about modes, and I feel like I should just remake the thing because it's been probably 8 years, and it was a good video, but I'm going to make another one. So yes, in a way, it was C Ionian, and it was D Dorian, and it was E Phrygian, but really, for the most part, that's what all of the modes of that A minor scale ultimately are. A Aeolian, B Locrian, C Ionian, D Dorian, E Phrygian, F Lydian. Oops, 2 minutes. Just let it go 10 more minutes. I could squeeze all this in the next 10 minutes, and it'll still be done with quality, I promise. F Lydian, and G Mixolydian. Those are all the same 7 notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but each one of them treats that main note as if it is the root note in that moment. It might be A minor, the key, but if you're playing a D note, it's not, it's actually D Dorian at the moment. Because there is an A in that chord, so bad example. E, let's say it's an E minor, it's an E Phrygian, in the key of A minor, right? There's not an A to be found, so it doesn't matter if A is your root note of your key, because there's not an A in the chord, so A doesn't really matter very much right in that moment. In this case, A matters a lot in these 2 chords, because it's the root note of my A minor chord, and it's the 3rd of my F chord. So anyway, we're dealing that's the long version, but really it's A Aeolian and F Lydian is what I'm basically using. But I'm basically just using the whole A minor scale. I'm just looking for the 3 hot spots for each of those 2 chords, which I think I actually get into in a moment here. But yeah, phrasing. Basically just bend when you can. Add vibrato to any notes that are held out, unless you really specifically want the flavor of not having vibrato, a more dry, straight note. Yeah, that works out great, Mike. I'll be around. I look forward to it. And we should probably talk again just a little bit, just to kind of refresh from a few months ago when we had our discussion too, just to assess where things are, anything that's changed, refresh my memory on some of what we talked about too. But yeah, please do, definitely. Number 5 then. Oh yeah, and real quick, by the way, while we're all here, anybody who's watching and has not done so, or maybe not in chat, don't forget to click like on this video. If you're watching it on ShredMentorOnline.com/live, you can actually go to YouTube, or just click, I think, just up on the little ShredMentor channel icon. Don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell so you actually get notified when I put lots and lots of other material out soon. And also, of course, when, if a ShredMentor Live goes live at some point in the future, you're going to want to know about that too. So, yeah, thanks. Anyway, number 5, connect the chords. This is what I've been doing here. You want to connect the chords in the underlying progression with the scale tones that land on the main beats, okay? So this is what I kind of did ahead of time, but 1 E and 2 root, E and 5th, E and 5th, 3rd and root, and 3rd E and 3rd E and not a chord tone. It's okay to let it go once in a while, but I'm trying to hit all the main beats, all the down beats that have a number, 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and so on. I want to try to favor the notes that are actually in that chord already as I cross over them in my melody. That's the juggling act, right? Because you're playing phrases and phrases and phrases, but you do want to land, anytime you've heard somebody play a solo and they get to that one note, like, oh, I love that note. You know what you love? You love the way that note fits into the chord underneath it. It sounds like that badass note that, like, oh, I love it when they go to that note. But you know what? It's the whole big picture. That impact you're feeling is because that note goes great with the background chord, not because that note is inherently special. All right? So that's part of the juggling act. That's part of making your solo sound like it was channeled from beyond. Like, wow, how do you just do this? Well, basically, all the theory you need to know is right in the chord that's already there. The 3 notes that make up the chord, those are your 3 hot spots during the time that chord's playing. And when the chord changes, find out what the 3 notes are in the next chord, and those are your 3 hot spots during that window of time. So I think this might have been the very first topic. So if you go back to ShredMentor Live, episode 1, you might actually find that. I think that was the first thing we covered. Go to the non-botched one. So this might have been like early November 2021, late October. I think it was early November 2021. Anyway, whatever. It's been going a long time now. That's why we're on 79 episodes as of today. Anyway, let's see. Make sure I didn't miss anything on that particular point here. Oh, yeah, of course. If you don't have an underlying chord progression, that's going to be pretty hard to do. So, or basically create the underlying chord progression as you go. Based on the notes that fall on those main beats. You do it the other way around. Something has to come first when you record or write, so you're not going to just, unless you're ambidextrous and just going to like write on 2 lines at the same time, which, hey, get that shit on film. I want to see that. But otherwise, yeah, seriously, just, you got to write something first. So whether you do melody first or chords first, do a little of both, I'm saying like as if it's either or. Don't do either or in general. Do a little of both. Purposely go out of your way to make a chord progression and then make your solo fit to it, but then purposely also sometimes write the solo without any accompaniment and practice writing an accompaniment. That's a separate skill. And so you're gonna get different types of results from it. So try both. Make sure they both get in rotation. Different skill days, as I went back, going back to the beginning with the practicing for results section. Do both. Don't do either or. You don't want to just get really good at one thing and then suck at its counterpart. Get good at everything so that you're a god. Or always come off like one. That always better. It's always a better choice. Anyway, so yeah, every chord has 3 notes in it. Well, triads at least. Even if it's a complex chord like a 7th, there's a triad in there. There's a root, a third, and a fifth. So target those. Those are the notes that resolve your melody and make your melody sound complete. And you can leave your listener hanging and not complete the melody on purpose, but that's what makes your melodies sound kind of like channeled from beyond, like, oh my God, how'd they come up with this? The notes are already in the chord. So it's so it doesn't have to be so overwhelming. Just choose the note. Here's how it is, in fact. How do I know what chords all these different notes are in? Okay, there's a root and a third and a fifth to every chord. Forget about everything beyond that. Don't worry about 7ths. Don't forget about add 9s. Forget about sus 2s and 4s. Treat everything like a simple major or minor triad, unless it's like diminished or something. But there is a root, a third, and a fifth. So if you have your notes first and no chords, how do you know what kind of chord to play there? Well, look at the note and one of 3 things. That note, put that same note in another octave as a root note. Or go down a third and make your note the third. So again, if I'm playing an A, I can either go from A, make a minor chord that would go with in this key, or I can make that the F major that goes with. Or so go down a fifth. This will be a D minor. So that's how you do it. You basically, instead of the way that we find out what are the notes of my chord, by starting at a note, that's the root note, go up a third, and that's the third, and go up a fifth, that's the fifth of the chord. You do it the other way around. You start at your note, and it is either the root note, either means 2, It is the root note, or you go down a third, and it is the third, or you go down a fifth, and it is the fifth. The same note. So you're finding a home for a particular note in your scale. Just descend the scale instead of ascending it. So it doesn't have to be that complicated. That's how you find it. Number 6, while you're in your recording program, this is another complete new skill set, so if you're unfamiliar with it, you better get started now. MIDI, okay? Musical Instrument Digital Interface. It was invented 40 years ago now. In 1983, it was a language designed to allow musical instruments that are electronic, like keyboards primarily, but other devices as well, to communicate with each other in a universal language. It is also the language of sequencing, not sequences, but sequencing orchestral music and sample playback and drum programming and stuff. It's basically the language of computer music, even if you're playing, rock and metal. So having just one of the free synths that you might find on the recording tool, or go on kvraudio.com. That's another really good site to know about. But get it, just some kind of a cheap free VST virtual synth to be able to play back, and you can kind of enter your stuff on the piano roll as MIDI and just play it back. You don't even have to worry about I couldn't play my really fast solo I was writing because I didn't anticipate the tempo and how much challenge I was writing into it, so I would have to work at it a little bit. But you know what? If I had MIDI, I could at least hear how it's supposed to go to see if it's even, to sort of have a litmus test of whether it's even worth my time to practice doing that. What's it going to sound like at full speed? Just give me an idea. It can be a piano, anything you can hear actually going along to what you've written there. So audition your ideas in a listenable form with MIDI right inside the DAW. Real quick. Gotcha. Thanks for the info. Thought you see me playing in a different mode. I did hit a wrong note, but I did it at the fastest speed I played. So I accidentally did a Phrygian for a moment, but it was a blip. Maybe you heard it, maybe you didn't. I know I did it. I didn't even hear it, frankly, because the guitar was buried. Got a message tomorrow afternoon. Yes, that does work for me. Excellent. Thank you. Have you played on a 20-inch neck radius 6? No, I have not. Or is that inch or is that degree? I don't know. When it comes to radius, I don't know. It kind of all goes Greek to me. I don't remember. I don't think so. Kiesel Andy James signature model. Okay, that's interesting. Send me a picture in the email, or I can just look it up afterward. But anyway, moving right on, because I do want to finish these. I'm a little over, but I want to try to get through the list without going too much later. So yeah, using MIDI, you can audition your idea in listenable form at the speed it's supposed to eventually go, so that you can gauge whether it's even really worth your time to practice that, or if you should get back to the drawing board and write something else that is then worth your time to work on it until you can play it at full speed. So I do this a lot, especially with stuff where there's a lot of key changes and I have a lot of juggling to do, and I have to shred the whole time, or most of it. I did this a lot on some of the solos I did for Shroud of Bereavement years ago. I remember really needing it because that chord progression was really throwing me for a loop, and it turned out great too. But so it just helps. It's a little extra thing you can lean on to hear what you've composed so far. Number 7. This is real simple, but it's right there, and people don't notice it a lot. But if there is a drum fill, follow it. Maybe not every time, but either nearly or maybe even exactly the same rhythm pattern. If there's a drum roll happening at some point in your solo, do the same rhythm pattern, because it's going to make your band sound super tight. And then next time, maybe don't. Maybe if it's the same roll happening every time, have a talk with your drummer, or change your drum pattern if it's programmed. Don't do the same roll over and over again, but at least have it, or I mean, unless it's really a core part of the idea, fine, but follow that rhythm pattern. That's the moment to go into rhythmic unison, because it's going to sound so perfect, and you already have sort of a container waiting to be filled with note choices. So do that. Whenever there's a drum fill, just follow it, either nearly or exactly. You can even further embellish it if the thing is simple enough and you have a little bit of room to go even faster and do fills of your own in between the subbeats of the drum fill. Number 8, which is 2 more. This one's really important, and I want to make this really clear here, okay? But take the path of least resistance, okay? And that's going to be the most obscure sounding one out of the gate, but think of, like, if you see somebody playing and like, oh, he makes it look so easy. I want to tell you something. Always use the easiest way to play the things that you play whenever you possibly can. If something's hard to play slow, it's not going to get any easier sped up. It's just going to get really hard. So things that are the easiest possible thing you can play is going to still be the easiest thing to play fast too, okay? So play things, find the easiest way to play it and make that your default way of playing it. It's not a competition to play the hardest thing, okay? That whatever, masochistic urges you have, fight them in this case. Get good instead. And it's easier to get good at things that are just easy, so you can do hard things with the easy things, like complicate them and make them, twice as fast or something like that. Playing faster is one of the things that anybody can do. So yeah, don't go out of your way to make things complicated. Or if you do, at least choose like one especially difficult challenge to kind of include, and then master that within that phrase. And like I said, I don't believe in mastery, but like get it so you nail that particular thing you're playing, and then showcase that thing. So if it's string skipping, just practice the string skipping pattern and in the area of the fretboard you're going to do it in. Solidify your part to exactly how it's going to go down, and make sure every single subbeat is accounted for. It is perfectly tight to the rhythm, or at least perfectly accounted within the rhythm, and then nail it. Just practice and practice and practice using something like the Guitar Practice Tool's double bass tool. But just that way, then you can showcase it. That's in a way that's sort of like when you think of like the Flying High Again solo, Randy Rhoads' didn't nail that whole transition back, but anyway, that's like he's showcasing a particular pattern. It's a section of the whole, so it's the ending of the Flying High Again solo, and it's showcasing that particular technique, right? And it's awesome. It's this really great like tapping legato kind of like dizzying thing, and it's got its own rhythmic figure. It's sextuplets. And it's a really cool chord progression going on underneath it too. It's all major, actually. It's just a first inversion major being moved around in interesting ways. I mean, that's it, but it's a showcasing of that. Now, the final thing here, and this is a simple one. We could have gone into an entire thing, but we will eventually cover it again in a much later ShredMentor Live. But the last thing I'm going to leave you with here is to use established motor memory to sort of repurpose the hand movements from other sequences. All right? So, again, something like this. Like, what if I go, let's see. In a couple of different keys there, but I've just taken the exact same hand movements and stretched them out to full triads instead of neighboring notes. That's exactly the same hand movements. I've repurposed the hand movements of the sequence and just spread them out to wider interval patterns. So that's a really great way to take vocabulary you have already and play completely new sounds with it that don't even sound anything like it, but they have the same rhythmic feel and length. So you can fill the same amount of rhythmic time with them and come up with, again, the game of quantity is really what I'm trying to help you with here. Fill that time. That's what a solo is. It needs to fill a certain amount of time or it's not done. It's not going to get done. So I want to leave you with that. Again, don't forget about the Total Artist Development System. That is where we go over all these things and more in much more depth and, more importantly, in a very personalized way based on what you yourself specifically want to accomplish in your playing, your improvisation, your writing, your overall creative abilities, your ability to understand what you're doing within the theory and how to make whatever sound you want, how to recreate whatever sound you hear, and anything else that you might require as a musician to be able to hold your own in the music industry or do whatever you want to be able to do as a musician. There's a lot more to it than just playing well, but that does kind of count for a lot. So that's, and it's sort of that 80-20 thing. About 80% of your time ends up getting spent trying to play really well, but it counts for so little, really. It's about 20% of the thing, because great playing buried in bad songs doesn't get heard. So make it worth more. Expand your palette of what you're trying to accomplish to make sure that you can do the whole thing you want to do. If you want to be recording your own albums later on, start learning how to record, start learning your software, start learning how to actually structure songs and how to make variations and all that stuff. That is what the Total Artist Development System is completely dedicated to, and of course carrying you beyond those first albums and helping you promote yourself and much more. Anyway, you can find all of that at ShredMentor.com. Just fill out the form, tell me all about your influences and your goals, and we'll set up a free introductory consultation. We'll talk, you and me, over Zoom or over Forte.com, which is what I've been using for my lessons lately, and your choice, really. And we'll just, it'll help me get a clear idea of what it is you're trying to do, and we'll see if it's a good match, and if so, we can begin working right away. Anyway, that is it for tonight. Thank you for joining me for this final weekly or semi-weekly episode of ShredMentor Live. There will be more ShredMentor Live in the future, but thank you all who joined me tonight for being such an awesome part of this. You really made the experience complete and helped me to achieve what I was trying to achieve with this, and I look forward to finally doing these again later. But again, if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click subscribe and click that bell so that you do get the notifications when new stuff comes up, because there is so much coming down the pipeline and I'm very excited about it, and I want you to be excited about it too and find out about it. Anyway, that said, also don't forget, on the YouTube channel for ShredMentor, as you're there, go on to the community tab, vote for how often you'd like it to do, because I'm still up in the air. I'm thinking something like monthly, but it would be nice to figure out exactly what you guys want, because it doesn't really count much if you guys can't make it or don't want, it doesn't work with your schedule anymore. So anyway, that's it. Thank you very much for joining me. This has been awesome, and I look forward to the next phase and sharing what I've got with you in the future, coming up soon. Rock on until next time.